Hey, good morning. Pardon the hair, it's total helmet head. Safety first, but appearance second, unfortunately, is the way it works out. A lot of people on YouTube throw videos up of their electric bikes and try to give like tips and tricks for like other people who are interested in getting electric bikes and kind of explain what they do, how they got it set up. So I figured I'd throw my 2 cents in there. That way you can see what I got and then maybe use some of this information for your own build or whatever. Or if you want to give comments on my build, I prefer, or I appreciate the feedback so I can maybe make some changes and some improvements. So without further ado, this is my current bike setup right now. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, and I'm not going to argue that. It's more function than it is appearance, and I've got some things on here that I just kind of temporarily put in place, and I'll kind of go through some stuff. But at the core of it, we've got this 1000-watt motor. Got on eBay. It was like $150. Came with this speed controller and the throttle grip assembly right here, as you can see, which is now on and then off. So this is all wired up as you would traditionally a electric bike. I temporarily wired up this watt meter, and I'm going to try to do some runs today to get some readings at different speeds and different power levels, so you can actually kind of see the amount of current that's getting pulled through here, to get an idea of what you actually need for battery packs and for motors for when you're riding. So this would be like a nice little addition. This is literally just something I just kind of rigged up just temporarily, so you know, it's out of the way, but it's still kind of functional. That's why it's just strapped on there and all that stuff. Normally the bike looks a little bit better without all this wiring on here. And then as far as a battery pack goes, inside here I've actually kind of got, again, and not a very pretty but certainly quite functional lithium-ion battery pack set. Basically what I did was I just took the measurements from the inside of the bike frame, and I kind of made a wooden box that's mounted right to the bike, and inside of this wooden box I formed a battery pack that would kind of conform to the inside and just try to cram as many batteries as I could in there. And all the wiring that you see here is just my way of bypassing, or basically working with the current charging setup. I basically have a RC car charger that'll charge up to 5S batteries at 5 amps. But as you can see, I'm running a lot more than 5S. Basically, each one of these connectors is 2. So this is a 6 connector setup. This is a 12S battery, but I actually have wired up here in this crazy contraption of all this wiring another 2S pack in here that's also in series. So this, technically the bike runs on 14S, which is, you know, approximately 60 volts full power, and the motor and the speed controller take it perfectly fine, which is nice. But what I did with the wiring is I just made 7 2S packs, which is why all these balance leads are coming off of here, because each one of these balance leads goes with a different 2S pack on the inside of here. And when I charge this, I actually just charge all my 2S packs in parallel, which is great because parallel charging is super safe, super easy, and it's brainless. And it's also nice because whenever you charge multiple packs in parallel, you automatically balance charge the pack, because that's just one of the byproducts of charging in parallel, is automatic balance charging. So what I have at my house is basically a rig with a whole bunch of female connectors. These are the 2S LiPo connectors. A whole bunch of female connectors that are just all wired up in parallel that I plug into all these. And then right now this is a series wired connection, but I have a similar wire in parallel. So I just plug in my 7 battery packs, which are all parallel connected, and then plug it directly into my charger, and I can charge 2S 5 amps instead of having to charge 14S, which is a lot of voltage and require a really beefy battery charger. So this kind of like lets me bypass that, which is kind of nice. Plus, in a sense, it also makes this a modular setup. Like, for instance, let's say I wanted to run at a lower voltage for whatever reason and not be quite so fast, I can actually just unplug this last pack from the 14S setup, basically put a little plug on there that's just wired closed, and then it'll make this a 12S or a 48 volt system instead of a 60 volt system. So it has some flexibility when you do things modular like this, and then you basically wire everything up in series afterwards. It gives you more flexibility with what you can and cannot do. So without further, oh well, I guess. And then on the back of this here, the way I have this all set up is this is just literally a dollar store box. I mean, it gets the job done. I got some holes kind of drilled in here for some better airflow, and then try to get some air going over the speed controller here. But I got everything kind of wired up, and I do have a little low power buzzer on the one pack in the back, and basically this is just for extra safety's sake. I mean, I do have the power here, which tells me my charge on the pack, and I do have the watt meter obviously set up, but this just kind of gives me a little bit extra safety with that. And then this is basically a cell phone charger I kind of wired up with a whole bunch of spare laptop batteries. This cord runs up to the front, which is where my phone is basically hooked up and plugged in, so I always have like charge here, or I can actually run the plug into my front pack if I want to charge up my regular phone or anything like that. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road, and I'm gonna put the camera on the helmet here, and I'm gonna try to get some film of this while I'm driving. I have a feeling it's not gonna come out very well because it's gonna be too far away, but at the least I'll be able to be riding. You can see my speed, my throttle level. I can kind of voice that all out, and then I can kind of read off some of the numbers that are coming out here, which is nice. So far, actually, when I fully charge this pack, it's close to 60 volts, and I've put about, where is it? Oh, I'm sorry. It reset itself. 0.05 amp hours right now. I was about 8.6 or 8.7 amp hours in the pack. This is technically well, it should be in theory a 20 amp hour pack, because basically it's 14 serial, 10 parallel, 10p for most of the packs. I actually have some of these 2S packs in here are like Sanyo cell, some are Panasonic, some are LG, some are some brand I don't know. But I went through every single cell individually to figure out its capacity, and then I matched the packs up using the Repacker website to basically make my packs all pretty much run about 20 amp hour. They're like 18 to 20 amp hour, roughly give or take. So it's, I mean, they're pretty well matched up as far as I'm concerned. Oh, and this is my solution to the side panel. Is basically a whole bunch of little neodymium magnets inside here, so I can just kind of put this on, and it just kind of holds itself in place. I'm gonna push it up. It actually holds quite well. That's on there pretty good, because I got like 7 or 8 magnets. But just to be extra safe, I kind of just rigged up some Velcro here, so I can kind of put that on. I've never had an issue with this thing popping off. It's never had any problems. In fact, I'm probably okay without the Velcro, but just because I like to be extra safe here, I wired that up. So let's throw this on and get rolling.
Okay, so this is me on the bike. I'm at a stop. I'm in low power mode, and basically I'm just slowly throttling up just so you can kind of see the speed and the power. And I'm actually pulling about 350 watts on level ground. It's about 6 to 7 amps on the meter. And basically, this is, somewhere in the range of 12 to 15 miles an hour for the speed. It's pretty quick. I mean, it doesn't look like it's fast, given the fisheye lens and the way it's set up. But if you're going 12 to 15 miles an hour on a bike, it's certainly not slow. I mean, figure that that's pretty high speed. I mean, this would be the equivalent of pedaling pretty quick. And I think it's like a gear of like 2 to 7. Like if your left gear was on 2 and your right gear was on like 6 or 7. So that's pretty quick. So let's do another test here. I'll show you. All right, here you can see me again riding. Again in low power mode. It's doing about 250 to 300 watts on the meter below. I'm doing an average of about 14 to 15 miles an hour, and I'm only pulling about 5 to 6 amps of current off of the battery pack. And this is, in low power mode, this is certainly a very respectable cruising speed for a bike on a road. And if I was on the sidewalk or even off-road, this would probably be a little bit too fast, just because of the fact that it's a continuous, pretty quick speed, 15 miles an hour. I mean, obviously, if I was on a road with 45-mile-an-hour cars, I wouldn't be able to keep up with the cars, but the speed of the bike itself, it's good. Alright, I've got the bike in high power mode here, and I'm going to be slowly turning up the throttle in high power mode so I can see what I get. And basically, I hit a peak of 1100 watts, 25 amps, and then basically a speed of around 27 miles an hour. As you can see, this is pretty quick. I mean, it's a slight downhill, but it's mainly flat on this road. And I level off at around 17 amps right here, 870 watts, and I'm doing 25 miles an hour. This is full power mode, just full throttle, just cruising, 25 miles an hour. And again, on a bike, when you're doing 25 mile an hour, it's pretty fast. This is pretty zippy. The camera and everything on my head doesn't do it really much justice, but I can tell you that when I'm riding around at this speed on this bike, I definitely feel comfortable and okay wearing a helmet, because any fall at this speed is definitely going to cause some pretty serious injury to me. So safety first.